According to Xinhua Dictionary, there are over 10,000 characters. But don't let the number scare you. In reality, only about 3,500 are in common use. Mastering these 3,500 characters is more than enough in daily life, work, and study. Hi, 你吃饭了吗? Welcome back to our Chinese lesson. This video is the very first episode of our Standalone Characters Series. So why did I decide to create a whole series just for standalone characters? Because they play an incredibly important role in Chinese writing system. They are not only used as independent characters, but most of them also serve as building blocks for compound characters. Their ability to form new characters is amazing, and that's exactly what makes standalone characters the very core of the system. Once you master this, learning other characters becomes so much easier. The number of standalone characters isn't overwhelming. There are 256 in total, making up less than 5% of all commonly used characters. If you are starting your journey with Chinese characters, beginning with standalone characters is definitely the best way to go. And if you are not sure what compound characters are, feel free to check out my other videos where I introduce Chinese characters formation and radicals. One more thing I want to emphasize, learning characters is not the same as learning words. Just memorizing characters without learning how they form words is not a smart approach. That's why in this series, I will put these standalone characters into short stories and real-life scenes. This way, you will learn to recognize the characters, understand how they build words, and even pick up expressions all at once. So, grab your notebook and your pen. 我们开始吧。我一觉睡到了中午，客厅里正在看书的妈妈对我说：“早起的鸟儿有虫吃。”我笑了笑，回答道：“早起的虫儿被鸟吃。” So, what do you think? Are you more of a bird or a worm? In this little story, there are 11 standalone characters in total. Let's take a look at them one by one. The first standalone character, 我, it means I or me. When you add the character 的 after it, it shows possession, like my or mine. One thing to notice is that in Chinese, 我 never changes form, no matter where it appears in the sentence. For example, 我 like noodles. She saw 我. You are 我的 friend, and this book is 我的我 can also combine with other components to form new characters, where it acts as a sound component to give a hint about pronunciation. Like 饿 on the left is the food radical, which shows the meaning is related to eating. I am hungry, you can say 我饿了. And another character, 哦. Here the mouth radical on the left shows it's related to speaking. 哦 is a spoken particle similar to saying okay or showing agreement in English. Depending on your expression or tone, it can also imply the opposite, like, oh, really? Or, good to know. The second standalone character, 一, it means the number. 1. Take the phrase 一觉, for example. It means a full sleep or a full nap. Here, 觉 is a measure word used to count how many times you have slept. There isn't an exact word for 一觉 in English, but in Chinese, almost every noun needs a measure word when you count it, because Chinese nouns don't change their form to show number or category, so we use measure words instead. For example, one book, 一本书, one fish, 一条鱼, and one flower is 一朵花, 本, 条, 朵. They are all measure words here. Different nouns pairs with different measure words. When I was a kid learning Chinese, besides writing characters and building words, one of the exercises I did the most was matching the right measure words with the right nouns. I will make a dedicated video all about measure words later, so I won't go too deep here. Now let's go back to the character 一 itself. It's actually a polyphonic character. Its tone changes depending on how it's used. But don't worry, in Chinese, only 一 and 不 do the tone change. It's not that much. Let's start by focusing on two of its pronunciations first. When E stands alone, acts as an ordinal, or appears at the end of a word, it's pronounced with the first tone. E. When E is followed by a fourth tone syllable, it's pronounced with the second tone. E. Since 叫 is the fourth tone, E changes to the second tone, so it sounds like 鱼叫. It might sound a bit confusing now, but if you keep listening, reading, and speaking, it will start to feel natural. And even if you get the tone wrong, people can still understand you from the context. As a standalone character, he also appears in many other characters. For example, 蛋, 上, 下, 二, 三, and many more. The third standalone character, le. Le is a very special and very frequent character in Chinese, and also the one gives beginners headaches. It actually has two pronunciations. The first pronunciation is le. When le appears after a verb, it marks completion. It shows that something has already happened in the past. Because Chinese doesn't have verb tense changes like English, we rely on time words or particles to express time. Here, le is the particle. In the phrase, 我一觉睡到了, 睡 means to sleep, and here, 到 means to reach or to extend until. Together, they describe an action that continues until a certain point, and the particle, le, marks the action has been completed. Le also has another function. When placed at the end of a sentence or after a pause, it can show a change of state or a new situation. For example, 下雨了, it means it wasn't raining before, but now it is. 你好看了, you look better now than before. Might not be the best compliment. The second pronunciation is liǎo. You will see this in words like 了结, 了不起, le, or liǎo. It's small but incredibly powerful, and mastering its uses is a big step in sounding more natural in Chinese. Alright, let's talk about the fourth and the fifth standalone characters together. 中 and 午. Put together, 中午 means noon, 上午 morning, 下午 afternoon, 上午好 good morning, and 下午好 good afternoon. Now let's look at 中 separately. When 中 is pronounced with the first tone, it means middle or inside. For example, 其中, 中间, 中等. When 中 is pronounced with the fourth tone, it means to hit exactly, to be affected by. For example, 击中, 中奖, 中毒. Now let's look at 午. It refers to the time around midday. It can appear in words like 午饭, 午睡. The sixth standalone character, 里. Li means inside or within, in contrast to 外, which means outside. It can also be extended to mean within a certain range. You will see it in many common words like 里面, 心里, 这里, 那里, 哪里. In Chinese schools, there is a popular vocabulary game called 词语接龙. You take the last character of one word and use it as the first character of the next word, and you keep going until you run out of the words. For example, 里面, 面包, 包子, 子女, 女人, 人口, 口才, 才能, and you can keep going. It's a fun way to build your vocabulary. The seventh standalone character, 正, means straight or upright, as opposite to 歪. It can also be combined with the characters we just learned, 午 and 中, to form words like 正午, 正中, and 正宗. This is another word, 正中, 正宗, 中宗, 中宗, 正常, 正确. 正 can also be used to indicate that an action or state is ongoing. For example, 我正在 吃饭, the eighth standalone character, 书. 书 on its own means book. When combined with other characters, it can also carry meanings like letter, document, or writings. Here are some common words with 书: 看书、证书、书桌、书房、书法. The ninth standalone characters, niǎo. This one is simple. It's a noun meaning bird. Some words you can form it with are 小鸟、鸟巢、鸟看、鸟笼. The tenth standalone character, R. It often refers to a child. For example, 儿戏、儿时、儿歌.
It can also specifically mean a son.
儿女、儿子. Another very common use is as a suffix for 儿化音, adding 儿 to the end of a word to make it sound more colloquial, more intimate, sometimes with a diminutive feel. For example, 鸟儿、小猫儿、娃儿. My mom even calls me 婷儿. She takes the last character of my name and adds 儿. It's a very typical thing in China, especially in northern region. In southern regions, people usually don't use 儿化音. And finally, the last standalone character in this set, chóng. Another simple one is a noun meaning insect or worm. Some words you can form with it are 昆虫、蛀虫、虫灾. Now let's go back to the sentence and do a quick summary. In this sentence, we've learned some very typical features of Chinese. 1. 了 shows the action is completed. 我一觉睡到了中午。2. 正在看书的妈妈 is similar to a relative clause in English, like mom who was reading a book. In Chinese, modifiers usually go before the noun and are connected with 的. For example, 正在读书 goes before 妈妈 with 的 in between. It's the same pattern in 早起的鸟儿 or 早起的虫儿. 3. Don't forget the little r in 鸟儿 and 虫儿. It doesn't mean child or son here. It simply makes the word sound a bit cuter, very common in spoken Mandarin. 4. 我笑了笑. I smiled a little. Repeating a verb often suggests the action is short, light, or tentative, and 了 shows the action already happened. There are many similar patterns. For example, 看了看. 问了问，走了走。5. 回答 means replied or answered. Adding 到 after it means the same thing. 到 is a classical written form of 说, often used in narration, especially in stories and novels. 6. 被鸟吃 Here we see the passive structure. 被 is used to form a passive voice similar to be eaten by in English. We covered a lot today. We learned 11 standalone characters, practiced forming words with them, and studied a few example sentences. Now it's your turn. I really want to encourage you to spend at least 30 minutes after this video practicing how to write these 11 characters. Memorize the words they form and try saying today's sentence out loud. This step is very important. When learning Chinese, you can't just memorize characters in isolation. You need to learn how they work in words. That's how everything truly sticks. To help you out, I've prepared a practice sheet at the end of this video. It includes the strokes and pinyin for each character. So make sure to use it and really get these characters into your hand and your mind. I hope this video has been helpful for you. Next time, we'll continue creating stories with more standalone characters. Don't forget to give this video a like, and I will see you in the next one. 下次再见，保重 ，Take care. 我一觉睡到了中午，客厅里正在看书的妈妈对我说：“早起的鸟儿有虫吃。”我笑了笑，回答道：“早起的虫儿被鸟吃。”我一觉睡到了中午，客厅里正在看书的妈妈对我说：“早起的鸟儿有虫吃。”我笑了笑，回答道：“早起的虫儿被鸟吃。”